welcome back. So this is where I am now. We've got a nice new frame, partially built. The cab skin is sitting on said frame. A little issue on both sides here, driver's side. The nut certs for the visor clash with the new steelwork, so I'm going to pull them out. Don't need them. I'll bond the visor on instead. The rear corner pieces clashed with the internal steelwork as well, because this is 10mm deeper than the original. The faces are the same side to side, but this is obviously deeper, so I'm going to remake them and I'm going to tie them into the steelwork that supports the new sleeper opening when I cut that, because this is going to come down all the way to here, so I can have a walk-through sleeper. It'll also replace this, which is obviously buckled from when it got hit. And there's no point in me making the hole any smaller than the window is already. So I'm going to cut down the edge of the window, which is pretty much following this line. We'll reuse the root holes in the back and tie it all together with some 2x1.5 or 2x2 alley angle iron, which will just stiffen everything up. Or is it alley angle or alley angle iron? I don't, whatever it is. That's 6082 T6, so it'll tie this together nicely. And again, one along the bottom running this way, so it sits on top of the cab frame. For anyone wondering, it's a 7.5 degree taper side to side. Those are leftover bolt holes from what this was repurposed from. Anyway, with that said and done, I'll jump into the video and you can see the process of me making this. And I'll probably bring you back in the next video and I'll have done the cutout, the floor braces, and I may have even put the bulkhead or firewall and everything else back together by then. So the plan is to obviously set this up, drill all the holes, so it's ready to go. We'll sandblast this frame, prime it, get it painted in 2K, and then can do final assembly of the cab once I've gone around and just refilled all these holes and made it nice. As I said, I'll remake them as well, probably out of some T6 alley, because I've got a load of T6 kicking about. 6082 again, and these stiffeners as well, which sit in which way around is that? Yeah, that way around. They sit there and tie that back to the main frame and to the main upright as well. So we'll make some new ones of these out of T6, because I did straighten this one out with a lump hammer, but it's still not right. And the other one, which will definitely not straighten, is over here. So when the truck got hit from behind by the I think it was an apprentice or somebody anyway, some moron who didn't understand the hydraulics, it shoved the hydraulic tank into the sleeper and the sleeper into the cab. So, but there we have it. So I've obviously not updated for a while, but here's a little bit of progress I've made in other things. So I tried to make the electric windows work for the truck, and the universal kit I had from the other truck wouldn't fit, so I've gone ahead and made some new door cards that will house the original winding setup, but with an electric motor. So I've offset these a 1/2 inch to basically house everything and hide it properly. I'll do a proper video when I make the driver's side one. I've also cut this old toolbox off. The old grease-filled toolbox had to go as it was sort of rusty, nasty inside, and just dented and hard to open. So I'm going to remake that out of 6mm plate again. As you can see, I had great fun cutting it up. So that's that. I was going to take it off as a unit, but whoever had fitted it had then welded the toolbox to the mounts, so I couldn't actually get to the bolts to undo them easily. And it's like a 2-man job to lift it off. Well, probably actually a 3-man job to lift it off, because that thing is made out of thick steel. You've got the 1/4-inch toolbox, and then I think it's 1/2-inch bits of angle iron going up the back and underneath as well, which is exactly how it's going to be remade, but when I do it, it'll be longer and a little deeper, so I can fit a bit more stuff in it. So whilst all this has been going on in my workshop, I also did a little exchange with a friend of mine. I swapped an old supercharger that I've got no use for some really nice alloy fuel tanks. So these come in at 466 litres each, I think. They're handed left and right, so they will be sort of symmetrical when they're fitted. They are slightly shorter at 5 foot versus 5'3" for the originals, but they are slightly larger in diameter at 24-inch instead of 22-inch. So there's nothing between them really. I got some radiator tank sides folded as well. These are 6mm steel like the originals. I've got a new bottom piece folded out of 6mm as well, and I'll have to modify that, so I'll do a video when it comes around to it. This is the firewall that I've made. I had a piece of 3mm lying around, so marked it out, best guess, and then sort of trimmed it, marked it again and trimmed it after it was mocked up on the truck. So that's all good. You can see I'm going to have to offset bead roll 1/4 inch there just to bring it all together.
but not a problem. My bead roller will handle that. Following on from this, stripped out all the huck bolts, and pulled the cab roof off. Unfortunately, I didn't get this on video, but I did get a lot of the other parts, the build, essentially, of the new frame. So, here we go. Making a start on the cab's internal skeleton. So we've got two of these pieces to cut at 140 centimetres less the bottom, which is 80, so the bottom rail. Then I'm going to remake those top pieces out of 3mm. See, make the cut to get the bend. So to do that, I'm just going to slice it with a grinder and then smack it over the anvil. They are 25mm on this, and my new ones are 35mm deep, so I'm also going to have to trim a little bit off the front edge, just along there. That's to make sure the cab fits over it again. So slightly better view of the fuel tanks now that they're back at my workshop. You can see the 3-8 ports that have been welded on. We've got an outlet, a return, and a breather in the middle, plus the big hole there for the fuel sender. TIG welded internally and externally on that main joint with bulkheads. You can see the witness marks for the bulkheads there. That's going to be mounted with the weld facing into the chassis, just to hide it. Anyway, everything's measured, marked off, and I'm going to start cutting. So this is all the steel that I'm going to require to do my cab skeleton. I have muted this because the noise this saw makes is horrendous. My blade's on the way out and I need to get it sharpened. It still cuts, but it screeches occasionally and it just sounds nasty, especially when you're cutting this sort of material where you've got two unsupported sides, as it were. But anyway, yeah, cut everything, measure the angle on the original, and when I slice the new steel across the edge and then smack it over the anvil, you end up with this, so it's close. I did fine tune the angle before welding it fully, and just made sure it matched the protractor. But yeah, we're going to get the air hammer out now and take all the horrid hucks out the rear so I can pull the skin off. Yeah, around this point I realised that I needed hearing protection for this, so you see me wander off just to grab some earplugs. That air gun is loud. It's the big snap-on one. I mean, I got that in from the States about 3 years ago because I couldn't find one in the UK, but it's, an amazing bit of kit. I just wish I'd actually bought the even bigger version, which I think Matco do. So I'm still working my way around the cab, obviously on the passenger side now, just getting all the hooks off with the air chisel. And then I had to resort to using the chisel as well to break off all the screws holding the striker plate in, because they were rusted solid. It ruined the door frames, but not a problem because we're going to remake them out of stainless. So the next 3 minutes are just going to be me messing about, removing the old door frames again, and then setting up to weld in the new cab pieces. So here I'm just showing you where I'm going to chop. If you want to skip sort of 2.5 minutes ahead, you'll get to the next point in the video. These are the top corner pieces for the cab skeleton, the front corner pieces. And as you see, I plasma cut them out roughly, and then for some reason my OCD kicked in, or ADHD, one of the two. And I ended up filing them down to within about 1/10 of each other, and then welded them in. And yeah, this cab has so much better tolerances already than the factory. So this is about 2 minutes now, if you want to skip forward. All I'm doing here is cutting off the old steelwork that was on the back of the cab so I can offer up the rear alley sheet to the new to the new skeleton. And so I just had to trim it a few times to get it to a point where it did fit. And then it sort of transpired when I actually went to fit the roof, I had to cut off a little bit more still. So there's that.
that's kind of it for today. As you can see, I've made my frame, and it's a hell of a lot thicker than the factory one. So I was like maybe 1.5, 2 mil in the factory. This is now 5 mil wall, and it tapers into 10 mil at the bottom of the channel. It's S275 structural channel. That's the factory one. Actually, okay, I was wrong. That's 3 mil in the factory, so not quite as thin as I thought, but still thinner. I need to trim these bits of it, sort of inner supports a little more so they fit inside properly, and then I'm going to test fit the cab. Once I'm happy with the fit up of the roof, I'll add some extra structural bracing across the front and the back, along the top as well, and then my plan is to bend a roll cage hoop so I can tie these two together whilst essentially keeping as much internal space as possible. Then we'll chop out the rear, add some uprights out of some 2x2 angle iron I've got, well, alley angle that I've got. So this will come down to probably about there. You see, there's the new tanks again. I need to make some brackets for them at some point, but I think I'll get a friend who owes me a couple of favours to laser cut some. Yeah, productive weekend. That's 2 days worth of work doing that. Not even 2 full days. About 10 hours all in, I think, including a lot of fucking about. I'm also going to repair the cab using some West 105 epoxy resin and some gel coat as well, so it's cracked through the coating. So also obviously I've done some damage in places, like there, so I'll get some West 105 and mixing a bit of glass fibre with that, slather it on, smooth it back, coat it in gel, and once that's test fitted along with that, they'll be ready for paint.
I ended up doing a little bit extra on the cab today, so this is Wednesday now. I had Monday, Tuesday off, but yeah, I was just removing these old lights so I can start to scuff them up and get them ready for paint. I want to reuse these because they're original and I quite like the look of them, so they're going to go white to contrast with the cab. off. As you can see, I've only got 2 good ones left out of the 5, as the bulb holders have just rotted away. So what I'm going to do is use some LED boards I've got from another project, insert them into the housings and make some, functional LED roof marker lights that look old. Yeah, and as I said, I'm going to use I'm going to paint them white because I've decided on using the Nomad colour scheme, which I'll throw up a picture of now. And that's going to be British Racing Green in a pearl British Racing Green with blood red metallic and silver fine lining, and then white roof lights. So I'm going to take 3/8 off of this. This is another job I did today. Just going to trim this down so I can actually get the truck cab over the top of it, because, as I said earlier, it's too deep compared to the original. And I did check to make sure if I could get away with not cutting it, and I can't.
A few moments later.
So obviously it was rinse and repeat for the other side. I'm just going over with a flat disc now that I've trimmed the 3/8 off it and making sure everything's smooth. I did also go over the rounded edges at the top with a file and just make sure that they were really nice and smooth. I don't know what it is at the minute, I just like filing things, so I'm running with it. I've still got a little bit more trimming to do right at the top, and then the cab will sit perfectly. So that's it for this video. If you've stuck around to the end, thank you. And yeah, like and subscribe please, or add a comment if you want to know anything, see where I'm going with this, or any questions in general about the build.